Welcome to Just Cook It Radio, hosted by Chef Mario Pareca and Bill Alexander. Just Cook It Radio is about food, life, and everything in between. And now, your hosts of Just Cook It Radio, Mario and Bill.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You're listening to Just Cook It on your local station, 590 Radio, WMBS, and also on FCTV, Channel 77, and at justcookit.tv. I am Mario Pareca. I'm here with Bill Alexander, and Mike Sackley joins us again this week.
Can I ask you a question?
Please do.
Just explain this to the audience. They're wondering, why do you say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening?
Okay.
Because, honestly, it's 9:13 in the morning.
Yeah, right now it is.
Yeah.
The reason I do that is because the show is also aired at justcookit.net as a podcast.
Okay.
So when people listen to the podcast, it may be the morning, it may be the afternoon, it may be the evening, so I make sure I cover all our bases.
I knew that. I just wanted to make sure everybody else did.
We want to make sure every listener feels very welcome. Just as Mike Sackley does every week he's been here in the studio.
I'm feeling the love right now, guys.
Mike looks like a zombie this morning.
Well, that's
Yes,
good because not that that's good, but we have a solution to that.
That's
is
true.
what I should say. Today,
Dr. Pincus is here.
did you take your Omega Krillfish oil?
Yeah, there you go.
Today is coffee day here at Just Cook It. So we've got 3 different types of coffees brewed, all from mistobox.com. They sent us the coffee. Connor Riley from Mistobox is going to be joining us on the program in the second segment. I actually had the opportunity to interview him earlier in the week. That was a very interesting interview, so you're going to want to tune in and hear that. And we'll also be taking your calls, because not only do we have the coffee here that Bill brewed this morning and brought in from Mistobox, but we also have 2 sets of Mistobox coffee to give away. So you can call in, we'll ask you a trivia question. If you get it correctly, we'll give you the coffee. It's some good coffee. You get 4 different varieties of coffee, and they all have different flavors, and we'll talk about those a little bit in a few minutes. But again, that's mistobox.com, so you can get a chance to try it before you visit their website and check out their subscription coffee service.
It's an interesting concept, and I got to make coffee this morning before I got thrown out of the kitchen because I had to leave. My wife said, "No, make my coffee." I said, "Okay, that's fine." But the one I'm drinking right now, which is the Finca Santa Paula, is actually pretty good. It's from the AJ Coffee Company. It has a nice body to it, and it has a nice the taste that I like is rich, and it has a nice rich taste to it.
And what's cool about these coffees, they send you 4 little packets, and they change every month. So if you get the subscription, you get 4 different gourmet custom blend coffees every month.
And now the other thing you can do too is if there's one you like, you can actually order that one and have that one sent to you too.
Right.
So it's not like a fruit of the month. You get whatever they pick. But if you like this one of the sample coffees, because again, it's just a sampler pack, you can try it and you can actually buy larger quantities.
And they actually have all the information on the packet about the coffee itself. So the one you're drinking, Bill, the tasting notes are soft paracidity, warm spices, and ballast.
Yeah, and I like that. That it does taste good.
That's good. It's good stuff. And I know Mike is just chomping at the bit to get some.
But also, for those that are watching us on TV right now, we are drinking it out of the official Just Cook It coffee mug.
And you can get your mug at justcookit.net by clicking on the merchandise tab. Be sure to order your Just Cook It mug. Coffee never tasted better. Do you like that? That was off the top of my head, too. That was just off the cuff.
Yeah, that's good.
Thanks, Bill.
I
Appreciate that. But what I wanted to also bring up is here's the phone number. So write these down because, like I mentioned, we will be giving away some Mistobox coffee in the third segment. So write the numbers down and get ready to call in after you hear the interview with Connor Riley. You'll know more about coffee, more about Mistobox, and you can call in. The number is 855-590-0590. That's the toll-free number. Or you can use the station number, which is 724-438-4593. That's how you can reach us. And maybe we'll ask some questions from the interview, so we'll make sure people are paying attention so they can take notes.
Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to be here for that segment because I'm bailing out because I'm going to the pit. New Mexico came today, so
go pit.
Go pit. Go pit.
But you'll be here in spirit.
I will be. Actually, I'll be listening to it on my way to the program. Quick story about why I'm going to this game today. My mother's family's actually from New Mexico. And my cousins went to school at the University of New Mexico, so there's always been a rivalry between Pitt and New Mexico. And now, since we're at the ACC, it's really cool that we get to play each other. But when I was a kid, you told everybody that, oh, we're going to New Mexico for vacation. They thought we were going to the country. For some reason, they lost that new. And when I was growing up, the story was told how my dad got to New Mexico is he was in the military. He was drafted in the Army, and he was stationed in Albuquerque. My grandmother, Pittsburgh-born, Pittsburgh-raised, was in tears because he thought he was going to some foreign country because she never heard of Albuquerque before. This was 1964. So there's a connection between us and New Mexico. So that's why my brother and I are going to the game today. So
cool.
we can actually see
Obviously, you're rooting for
I'm
Pitt.
rooting for
You have
Pitt.
your
Yeah,
Panther shirt on.
I have a bet with my cousin right now, who's probably listening to the program in New Mexico as it's streaming live on who's going to win today. So we'll see what happens.
Well, hell to Pitt.
Yep, that's right. Sweet Caroline's been running through my head all morning this morning.
And every time, just a side note, every time I hear the word, Mike, you may know what I'm talking about. Every time I hear Albuquerque, I think of the relief pitcher, Al Albuquerque. I believe he pitches for the Tigers. It's just that pops in my head. Talk about a name. Huh?
I think of the Bugs Bunny cartoon where we make the wrong turn in Albuquerque. That's all.
Oh.
You're not old enough to remember this.
I do remember Bugs Bunny, however. But so today's show is all about coffee. So let's talk a little bit about coffee. There's an interesting fact I found out about coffee. 98%. Well, it's not. It's interesting. You probably know this, but 98% of Americans drink some kind of caffeine, whether it be coffee or tea. So.
And the other thing, too, which I thought was even more interesting, is that a carbonated beverage such as Coke and Pepsi fits into that because they need that caffeine to get started in the morning.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where a lot of people cannot start their day without a warm cup of coffee or a coffee a la Bill Alexander.
Yeah, that's right, which, of course, I had on my way in and I'm drinking right now. But my question for you is dealing with caffeine. Caffeine is a stimulant, right?
Yes.
So is nicotine.
Yes.
Nicotine is regulated by the FDA. Mm-hmm. Should caffeine be regulated too? I'm wondering.
Yeah.
It was one of these thoughts that was going through my head this morning.
I don't think. I think it'd be more difficult for them to regulate it just because there's an age restriction on nicotine. You have to be 18 to purchase nicotine.
Yeah.
But as far as caffeine goes, people give it to their children.
I know that.
So I mean, I personally, I don't think so. But I think it's up to parents.
Okay.
To police how much caffeine they give to their children. A little bit of caffeine every day is actually good for you.
Thing, yeah.
But once you break that threshold and you start to drink more and more, that's when it can become dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
When you get wired and you get jittery, and then it can really mess with your mental focus and all that stuff. But even coffee, coffee's very acidic. It's really not the best thing to drink, but 1 cup a day is okay. Because it has antioxidants in it as well.
This goes back to that argument for drinking it. Do you drink it for the caffeine or do you drink it for the taste?
That's a personal thing. Personally, I drink it for the taste.
And so do I.
I mean,
But I know people that doctor it up with enough sugar, enough milk in it, and they're just doing it because they want to get that caffeine in the morning.
That's kind of a sacrilege.
That's my thing,
I mean,
too.
It depends on what kind of coffee you drink. If you drink really good coffee, then you want to taste the coffee. That's my opinion. You want to taste the coffee. You don't want to taste it, that old saying, oh, you put a little coffee in your sugar.
That's right. Well, that's like going to one of these places that we've talked about in the program. Not that I want to mix coffee vendors, but Starbucks. And you get all this frilly stuff in it. It's like, if I want coffee, I want it black so I can taste it. I mean, you've talked about your sister saying when she goes that she's getting coffee, and what does she get?
She gets some kind of sweetened, chocolatey, milkshakey type of thing.
That's not coffee.
Maybe a shot of coffee. Maybe. That's not been proven yet.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get a chemist to break it down and see if there's actually coffee in it. But this is interesting. I have here the top 9, coffees. And their caffeine content, because not all coffee is created equal. So all the coffees you drink in the morning, they have different caffeine contents in them.
Okay.
So, for instance, the one listed here with the least amount of caffeine, believe it or not, McDonald's.
Oh, really?
McDonald's has 9.1 milligrams of caffeine per fluid ounce. The second, number 2, with the least is Seattle's Best. Seattle's Best has 10.4 milligrams per fluid ounce. Now, if you move up the line a little bit, Dunkin' Donuts is a little bit more with 12.7 milligrams. And then Starbucks is actually next to the last one, which is one of the strongest at 20.6 milligrams.
And that's why I like it.
And the strongest, you're not going to find in any stores. You're not going to find in any coffee shops. You're going to have to order it online. It's called Death Wish Coffee. And the name says something.
That's a good name.
There's 54.2 milligrams of caffeine per fluid ounce. And I went to their website. And it's very interesting.
The skull and crossbones on the website is
and the term Death Wish. The first sentence on their website is a disclaimer. This is not your regular morning coffee. And so basically what it says is, and I read this and I'll just paraphrase it, typically dark roasted coffee has less caffeine in comparison to lighter roasted coffee, because it says that the caffeine is actually stricken from the bean during the roasting process. But at Death Wish Coffee, they found a coffee bean with close to 200% as much caffeine as your typical coffee shop coffee. They roast it to a medium dark, so it still has that strong, robust flavor, and then they grind it to the proper level for extreme potency. So that's some tough stuff. You don't want to drink more than a cup of that a day, I would say. And I think even a cup of that's good, taken a little far. It's a lot of caffeine in that.
Well, now I know why I like Starbucks, because it's, 20%
per milligrams per fluid ounce. It's a little high.
I'm drinking this one right here, this from Passion House, El Salvador Los Numbres, number 11.
That's the one I'm drinking.
Yeah. I like it when it says variety bourbon. What do they mean by that?
Variety bourbon. Oh, that's the type of bean, I guess.
Because I was going to say, if you put a shot in there, it'd be pretty good if you think about it.
Yeah, bourbon makes everything better, doesn't it? But so we were drinking I just want to mention everyone again. We were drinking our coffee this morning, courtesy of mistobox.com. So if you go there, and we're going to be talking to Connor Riley from Mistobox later in the program, you can go there and get your coffee subscription, so you get it delivered every month. And so another interesting thing about coffee is a lot of people store their coffee in their freezer. And
I didn't know that.
Or in the refrigerator, and that's actually a myth. You should not do
a myth. A myth?
You actually should not do that.
Okay.
You should store your coffee at room temperature in a dark, dry place. So if you have a nice cabinet that's dry, not humid, and it's dark in there, that's where you should store your coffee.
Not above the stove is what you're telling me.
No, not above the stove. Whole beans will last a year. Okay, but they start to lose their potency after about 3 months. Ground coffee is pretty much done after 3 months.
Yeah. Now, my question before you, because we have to step away here real quick, is, and I didn't know if they said in your survey that you read about the caffeine consumption, if I grind my own coffee, does it have more caffeine than if I buy it already pre-ground?
I don't believe so, only because from everything I've read, now I'm not a coffee or caffeine expert by any stretch, but from everything that I've read, the caffeine is changed when the bean's roasted the most. So the more they roast it, the more caffeine is stricken from the bean. That's why it says here, like I said, the darker, more robust coffees usually have less caffeine than the lighter tasting coffees, which you would think it would be the opposite, right? At least I did before I read that. But there are some beans, I guess, that if you find them, that don't do that they don't lose their potency as you toast them. And Death Wish found it. And I guess to drink it, you probably do have to have a Death Wish.
Death Wish. Well, it's time to end the first break so we can get into that interview.
Yes, when we come back, you'll hear the interview I did with Connor Riley from mistobox.com. And also, here, I'm going to give you the numbers really quickly right away so you can write those down, because in the third segment, I'll be here with Mike Sackley, and we'll be talking more coffee. And you can call in and actually win a package of Mistobox to try yourself. So the number again, if you want to call toll free,
you can get it out. There you go.
855-590-0590 is the toll free number, or if you want to call the station, it's 724-438-4593. Keep listening to Just Cook It. We have the interview with Connor Riley from mistobox.com coming right up. And Just Cook It is served up to you today by the Big Barn Country Store in Delhi, by Pareca Chiropractic Center, Inc., by 4th Street Barbecue, by the Herald Standard, and on FCTV by Phil Giannetti Motors.
And you're watching Just Cook It on Fayette TV, Channel 77, and also at justcookit.tv. And you're listening to Just Cook It Radio here on your local station, 590 Radio WMBS.
Phil Giannetti Motors at 656 National Pike East in Brownsville is a proud sponsor of programming on FCTV. Phil Giannetti Motors providing quality vehicles for 45 years. If you're looking for a quality pre-owned vehicle, give Phil Giannetti's a call at 724-785-6800 or stop by their website, philgiannettymotors.com.
Hello, Fayette TV, and thank you for watching Just Cook It Radio right here on Channel 77. I am Mario Pareca.
And I'm Bill Alexander. If you like what you've seen so far, you can watch the program in its entirety at justcookit.tv for food, life, and everything in between.
have a very special guest with us today, and I'm very excited about this. And I know we talked about it on the program a few weeks back, and we're very honored to have Connor Riley from Misto Box on the program with us this week. Hi, Connor. How are you?
Doing great. How are you?
Great, great. We really appreciate you being on here. This is some really exciting stuff. I mean, all the way from Shark Tank, I can honestly say that, you know, we've had some pretty big guests on in the past from big companies, food people, chefs, but you're the first person that we've had on the show that's actually been on national television.
That's awesome. First for everything.
That's right. So we're very happy to have you. And the first question I have right out of the gate for you is, what is Misto Box? Where did it come from? And what are you guys all about?
Exactly, yeah. So Misto Box is a coffee subscription and then an online coffee shop. And kind of how we work is we send our subscribers every single 2 weeks. You can get on a 2-week plan or on a monthly plan. And we send out, we basically scour the United States. We work with, currently work with 30 different coffee roasters, but get, 50-plus coffees in every single month. And we had a team of coffee professionals that will taste and evaluate these coffees. And we select what we feel like are the best 4 coffees. And then those are the 4 coffees that we package up into the Misto Box and we send directly to you. And then all the roasters that we work with, we also sell full-size bags of their coffee online on MistoBox.com. So any of the coffees that we send you or any of the roasters that we send you, you can come back online to MistoBox.com and you can purchase a full-size bag. So things got started with us just about 16 months ago. In May of 2012, we launched. We had a successful Kickstarter, which is basically a crowdfunding website where we raised about $10,000 in April of 2012, got us enough money to purchase some inventory, to buy a website, get some design work done, and basically get things started. And the whole idea started in the entrepreneurship program at the University of Arizona. So we launched the business directly out of our undergraduate degrees in May of 2012, and we've been going at it for about 16 months now.
Well, that's awesome. You've made some great progress. I mean, it's really actually, now you can correct me if I'm wrong, but from 16 months, the company's really still in the startup phase.
Yeah, it definitely is.
And that's cool. You've seen a lot of success really quickly. And now my next question to you is, you said it started in the entrepreneurship program of while you were in school, and you're probably are to this point. You're getting better, but when you first started this, you weren't a coffee expert. I mean, you may have.
I was not. No.
So how did you bridge that gap between, I want to start this out, I need to get coffee knowledge or people who have coffee knowledge? How did that come about?
There's a lot of trial and error, a lot of research, just a lot of reading done online, a lot of stopping into different coffee shops, both in the Phoenix and Tucson area where we started the business and where we're located, and surrounding ourselves by people that had more experience than we did. And recently, we were about 6 months in when we hired our first guy that had some substantial coffee experience. And not only did that help the brand and the company out, but he also helps, educate and inform us as well. So what started off with us not knowing a whole lot, we basically got caught up to speed pretty quickly, both with our own research and with the hiring of his position as the Director of Coffee Education. So he is in charge of educating the consumer and educating us as well. So that's kind of how we bridged that gap. And it definitely took us a while to get there, but we feel confident in the position that we're at right now.
That's really cool. And the thing of it is, I mean, I know a lot of our listeners, unfortunately, and probably a lot of the people, and it's just not our listeners, but a lot of the people in America are used to buying the commercially bought coffees that are already ground, the Folgers, the Maxwell House, all that stuff. What can you tell them comparing those coffees to the coffees that you guys use and the coffees you send out every month to your customers?
Yeah, so the coffee industry, it's interesting. There's a ton of people. A majority of the market is just they're miseducated and misinformed about what coffee is and what quality coffee is all about. And I draw a lot of comparisons between coffee and wine. So wine and coffee are both very similar. And the coffee that you're going to get in the supermarket, the coffee that you're going to get at Starbucks and the big coffee chains, especially coffee that's pre-ground, is of similar quality to a bagged wine basically the bottom shelf, the cheapest stuff that you can possibly get. And that type of coffee it's not fresh, it's poor quality, and it's unethically sourced. So there are a bunch of variables that go into the quality of the coffee. Obviously, there's a bunch of steps along the process, from when the coffee's grown to how the coffee's harvested to how it's imported to how it's roasted and to how it's brewed and then finally consumed. So the stuff that you're getting in the big coffee stores and the stuff you're getting at the supermarket is going to be old coffee. It's going to be over-roasted coffee, and it's going to be, obviously, for the most part, it's ground. People don't realize that coffee loses nearly half of its flavor within the first 15 minutes after it's ground. So the coffee you're getting in the supermarket has been ground likely for weeks and has been roasted months back, and coffee should always be consumed definitely within 14 to 20 days of it actually being roasted.
Wow.
To give you the best possible product that you can brew. And a lot of people just don't understand that, and they're misinformed and miseducated by the Starbuckses, by the Peeps, by the coffee beans, and there's a battle that we're kind of, trying to take on here of educating the consumers and convincing them that they should be buying our products because they've been so manipulated by, these big, the big coffee chains and the stores and stuff like that. People are just so used to purchasing coffee like that. Their purchasing habits are to get it at the store when really they're purchasing a product that is inferior and low quality. They just don't realize it.
And I love your passion because, I being in the food world myself, and I can see the parallel between food and wine, or between coffee and wine that you just mentioned. It, what really, I don't want to say irritates me, but kind of grinds my gears, for lack of a better term, is when you go through, if you go to one of those big places that you mentioned, like a Starbucks or whatever, 3/4 of their menu isn't really coffee. It's a bunch of sugar and a bunch of fake cream with a drop of black liquid in it that's supposed to mimic coffee.
Right.
So, and most people don't understand that coffee is an actual art form. So what are some tips that you can give people about, not obviously selecting the best coffee is as easy as going to mistobox.com, and you guys do that for them, so that takes the work out of it. But when you get the coffee, what's the proper way to grind it, to brew it, so that you actually can enjoy and taste the coffee and you're not just having something to help wake you up in the morning?
Yeah, exactly. So the best way to grind is to grind right before you brew. Basically, keep your coffee in whole bean form until you're about to brew it, and keep it in an airtight and dark spot to preserve the freshness. Then as far as brewing goes, there's obviously multiple ways that you can brew coffee, and most people use just a generic coffee machine, and the problem with generic coffee machines is the water when the water comes out the spout and is released onto the coffee grinds, it's not at a temperature that's hot enough to get the proper extraction. It's often 10 to 20 degrees cooler, and you're going to get a diluted, muted cup of coffee. So there are certain coffee machines, and there's ones that we sell online, that are SCAA certified, and they actually get the coffee to be, they get the water to be hot enough so you're getting a proper extraction. And there's French press, there's different AeroPress, there's different pour-over type techniques. All that can be found online on mistobox.com. But for the most part, brewing coffee at home, most people are going to be doing it out of a coffee machine. And the best way to do that is with an SCA certified machine, which you can obviously find online through mistobox.com.
Yeah, it's really a process. It's not. It's not difficult, but it's something that you need to understand to be able to do.
Exactly. And we're just about to release a ton of videos showing people. We have 6 different videos that are coming out showing people how to brew across 6 different devices.
Cool. That's awesome. I can't wait to see those. And I guess my pushing forward to the next portion of what I wanted to talk about with you is more about actually MistoBox. For instance, your coffees. Where do they come from? What's your favorite coffee? How do you decide, what you're going to send? Because if you're sending 4 coffees out each month to different consumers and customers, you're going to, I would assume you want them to be different from month to month, but you want them to be unique at the same time. So how do you achieve that with your coffees?
Yeah, so we never feature the same coffee twice. And the way that our selection process works is we have different roasters from our current current lineup of roasters that we featured in the past, and new roasters that want to be featured. We have them submit different samples, and we do blind evaluations of those coffees, and we select what we feel like are not only the best 4 coffees, but the best 4 coffees that provide a good balance in every single box. And at any given time, coffee is obviously a crop, and at any given time, our roasters have 7 to 10 coffees on hand, and they're constantly, recirculating in new coffees as old coffees sell out. And there's so many different variables that go into the taste of the coffee that a coffee from one plot of land one year will taste completely different the next year. So no matter what, you're going to get drastically different coffees every single time. There won't be anything that'll taste just like something you've had before. And we do a good job. We have a chart of everything. We keep everything balanced. We feature coffees from different origins in different boxes. So you'll get coffees, say, from El Salvador, Guatemala, Colombia, and Brazil one month, and the next month you'll get an Indonesian, a Tanzanian, a Kenyan, and an Ethiopian. We provide good balance. You're getting coffees that have different flavor profiles from different areas of the world.
Cool. Again, I just want to reiterate, we're talking to Connor Riley from MistoBox.com. They provide coffee at a subscription service, which is really, really a cool idea. And they were actually featured on Shark Tank, so we're really happy to have them on. And Connor, what do you personally look for in a really good cup of coffee? Like when you're getting all these coffees and you're tasting them, because obviously you taste every coffee that goes out to your customers. Have you found one that just like you were just had to step back and were like, wow?
Yeah, I'm naturally drawn to Ethiopian coffees. Coffee from Ethiopia is naturally very clean. It's bright. It's floral. It's aromatic. It's peachy, lemony. It's a coffee that if you were to try, it would taste drastically different than anything else you've had or that you're used to. But what I look for in coffees is something that stands out, something that when you taste it, you're like, well, that doesn't taste like coffee. It tastes, it tastes unique. It tastes different, something that really jumps out on the palate. That's definitely what I look for in coffees, and Ethiopian coffees, in my opinion, are the best type of coffee.
Awesome. And when you taste coffee, is it like, now I watch sommeliers a lot when they taste wine, and they swish and they inhale and then they spit it out in this cauldron. Is that the same thing with coffee, or do you just like get a cup and sit down and relax?
It's very similar, yeah. You're just tasting little bits at a time since you're tasting so many coffees at a time. If you're at a cup of every single coffee we taste, you'd be drinking 20 to 25 coffees a day, which probably wouldn't end well. So you're just you're brewing about 8 ounces at a time, and you're slurping it with a spoon.
Now, when you're making your coffee, now I watched a video at MistoBox.com of you brewing coffee, and so the really cool tip that I'd like you to just reiterate to our listeners that I learned, I didn't know this, before you brew your coffee, you wet your filters before you put the coffee in. Can you explain that? Exactly.
Yeah, so you should definitely wet the filters down before you actually brew the coffee through it, because the filter itself has some parchment in it that'll give the coffee, unless you rinse it, it'll give the coffee kind of a papery taste.
That's cool. I did not. That's one thing that I did not know.
Right.
And like I said, I just learned that from watching the videos. So people can go to MistoBox.com, get all the videos about how to properly brew coffee, some tips about different coffees, and that's really cool. Now, I guess one of my final questions for you is, I guess it's kind of a two-parter. First of all, I was doing some research on your website. Now, preference-wise, when you drink coffee, black, do you ever add anything to it?
No, I never add anything to the coffee. Yeah, just drink it black. Once you add cream and sugars to the coffee, it dilutes all the flavor that is naturally inherent in that coffee. And what it's essentially doing is it's making that coffee taste no different than any other coffee that you were to brew. If you were to add cream and sugar in it, basically makes all coffees taste the same.
Makes sense. I also read that you, on a personal level for yourself, you have a very high-pitched laugh. Can we get a little demonstration of that, or is that something we have to study?
Too difficult to do on command. It has to come naturally.
That's funny. And you're also big into bass fishing.
Yeah, I love to fish.
Where did that start from? When you were a young age?
I've been passionate about fishing since I was probably 4 to 5 years old. It's something I've always done. Something I've always been passionate about. Something I've always loved to do. and I don't see myself letting up anytime soon.
So you pack a big thermos of Misto Box coffee and then just go hit the lake?
Exactly.
That's cool. That's really cool. So I guess finally what I want to ask you about is your experience on Shark Tank. We'll wrap up with this, then you can go ahead and give us the website and about how, because the listeners, I think, need to all try at least a couple months worth of Misto Box because it's a great idea, and it's awesome to, number one, not have to go to the store and buy coffee, and number two, to know you're getting the best coffee without any effort on your part.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about Shark Tank, just because I know we have a lot of listeners that watch it. Maybe you could give us a little nugget, a little behind-the-scenes peek at it, or how your experience was on there, and then you can tell us a bit more about Misto Box and how people can join the coffee craze.
Yeah, so the Shark Tank experience, Shark Tank's a show I've been watching probably ever since middle school. It was a show that I never thought I'd have the opportunity to be on, and it was an unbelievable experience, and the experience presented itself. It was something that my partner, Sam, and I both jumped all over, and it was an experience that was better than we could have imagined and better than we thought it could be. And pretty much what you see on TV is what you get. It's 100% live. It's the real deal. There's nothing scripted. They don't prepare you for any questions, any answers, anything. You go out there, and it's essentially live. And we were able to strike a deal with Mark Cuban, and that's been going extremely well so far. And the show aired this past May 3rd, and since then we've been busy. Sales have been awesome. We've been growing pretty consistently. The exposure was unbelievable. And then we got re-aired again. I think it was about 2.5 weeks ago. So cool. We've been aired twice on ABC, and so far the experience has been unbelievable, and one that I would recommend to others as well.
That's really cool. I mean, so it's basically a live pitch with cameras. I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
Just like on the side there.
Right.
Awesome stuff. And were you nervous going into that meeting? How did you feel?
Definitely nervous. It was an emotion that I had never experienced before. Pretty much every emotion heightened to the max, all at the same time.
But you
scared,
got
excited, nervous, happy, everything.
But you got Mark Cuban. You hooked him, and he's as we were talking a bit before the interview, he's actually a native Pittsburgher.
Right,
from our area here, which is cool. So inadvertently, I guess we kind of have some sort of tie there through Mark Cuban, huh?
Right. Exactly, yeah.
So, Connor, again, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. And Misto Box is just a great idea, I think. It's revolutionary in the sense that, like I said, you can get great coffee delivered right to your door. You don't even have to leave home without having to do anything but brew it when it gets there. So, I mean, it's a great idea. It takes all the hassle out and gives you a fantastic product with little to no effort. Isn't that what everyone's about nowadays?
Exactly.
Convenience?
Yep, that's it.
So, Connor, where can we find more about Misto Box? How do you get a subscription? And maybe just take us through that really quickly, and then we'll.
Yeah, you can find everything. Yeah, you can find everything directly on our website, mistobox.com. It's spelled mistobox.com. There you'll have access to our online store, our blog, our education section. You can, purchase a gift for somebody else. You can subscribe directly from there. It's a pretty easy process. Our website's simple and clean, and it's not confusing at all. So you can find all the information you'll need right there.
Great. Well, thanks again, Connor. This was great, and hopefully we can have you back on again in the future, and we can talk more coffee, because it's something that, I really enjoy learning about. Something that I drink, once, twice a day, and it's something that I like to learn more about and get some better coffee.
Definitely, I'd love to.
All right, well, thanks again. It was great. I had a great time.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Good to have you back. You are listening to Just Cook It on your local station, 590 Radio, WMBS, and also on FCTV, channel 77, and at justcookit.tv. I am Mario Parecka. I'm here with Mike Sackley. Bill's off to the pit game. He'll have a good time there. He took some coffee with him, so don't worry. We're all wired up here. We've been drinking Misto Box coffee, and that was the interview you just heard, Connor Riley, from MistoBox.com, so you can check them out there on the web. And Just Cook It is being served up to you today by the Big Barn Country Store in Delhi, by Parekha Chiropractic Center, Inc., by 4th Street Barbecue, and by the Herald Standard. And speaking of the Herald Standard, you can check out my Ask Mario column in there every Thursday, and make sure you send me your questions to hsfeatures@heraldstandard.com, and I will be sure to answer your food and cooking-related questions every Thursday right in your Herald Standard in the food section. So, Mike, did you learn a lot about coffee?
It's good
from
stuff.
That interview?
Yeah, that's a fascinating process. You know, it's some of the things you don't even really think about when it comes to coffee, some of the more intricate parts. And I mean, like you talked about in that first segment, not all coffee created equal. So it's cool to kind of find out the different styles and how it's done differently.
Yeah, and there are actual coffee experts, as you heard Connor speak about, that are almost like sommeliers with wine. That just, you know, you can taste. And for instance, on these Misto Box packages, you know, the coffee I'm drinking right now has cherry aromatics, vanilla tasting notes, and it's very vibrant. And it's a really good coffee. I mean, these aren't things that my palate isn't refined enough to coffee that I could taste this on my own. But if you know what it is, because they come on the package and then you taste it, you can pick that stuff up. Be like, oh, it's like a little cheat sheet. It works for you. But so, again, if you want, we have about 7 or 8 minutes left of the program. If you want to call in, we have 2 packages of Misto Box to give away. If no one calls in, I guess we'll save them for next week and try to give them away next week. Sure. But if you want to drink some Misto Box coffee while you listen to us next week, you can call in at 855-590-0590 or at 724-438-4593. Those are the numbers. Give us a call. We'll ask you a quick trivia question regarding the coffee. If you get it right, we'll send you some or you can come pick up some Misto Box. It's 4 different packages of coffee, the ones we're drinking now, and you could be just as wired as Mike and I are, and I'm sure Bill is on his way to the
he's always wired.
Yeah, it's hard to tell with him. He's always excited and ready to go. But, so Mike, I'm going to ask you, so how about this? This is a coffee news thing that I just found yesterday as I was doing my show prep. The big coffee these days is obviously the Starbucks Pumpkin Spice Latte. Mm-hmm. That's the coffee of the season. Everyone goes nuts for it, and that's why they even released it earlier this year with that special code we talked about a couple weeks ago, the PSL 10, because it's the 10 years. And vegans are very upset about this because they have a dried milk powder in the coffee, and it's not vegan, and baristas didn't know that. We'll get back to that in a minute. We have a caller on the line.
Let's go ahead and take a call. Hi there, caller. You're on the air. Do we have you, caller?
Hello.
Hello. Oh, dropped off. We have another one. Let's go see if we can find it.
Hello.
Hi, caller. You're on the air.
Hello.
Hi. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
What's your name?
Loretta.
Hi, Loretta. Where are you from?
Uniontown.
All right, Loretta. You want to give a go at one of these trivia questions?
Yeah, I'll give it a try.
Loretta, do you like coffee?
Oh, love it. Yeah.
How much coffee do you drink a day, you think?
About 5 cups.
5 cups. What kind of coffee do you like?
I like just the regular coffees, you know, and I like French vanilla.
Okay.
Pumpkin spice, any kind.
Pumpkin spice, that's the big one these days, or this time of year, I should say. But, Loretta, I'm going to ask you a question here. It is multiple choice, and there's 3 different choices. If you get the question correct, we will have the box of Misto Box coffee waiting for you here at the station that you can pick up this week, all right?
Okay.
So your question is, Loretta, which nation grows and exports the most coffee? Is it Brazil, Colombia, or Guatemala?
I'd say Colombia.
Colombia? Is that your final answer?
Well, if it's the wrong answer, I'll take Brazil.
Brazil, is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Brazil, you would be correct with Brazil. That's right. Brazil does grow and export the most coffee. So, congratulations, Loretta. We'll have a box of Misto Box coffee waiting for you right here at WMBS, and we'll have Mike take your information so that you can come in and pick it up next week.
Oh, okay. Thank you
Thank you for calling.
Yeah, Loretta,
thank you for listening.
Stay on hold, Loretta. We'll talk with you after the show wraps up, okay?
Okay,
All right, thank you.
What's it? We have another caller? Let's do another one.
Hold on. Hi there, caller. You're on the air.
Hello.
Hi, what's your name?
Mary.
Mary, where are you from?
Farmington.
Farmington. You ready to answer a trivia question?
Yeah, sure.
All right, Mary, go ahead.
Sounds great. So, Mary, what is your what's your favorite type of coffee?
I like the strong, I like the dark roast, but after hearing there's less caffeine, I think I might change my mind.
Okay. Mary, can you do me a favor really quickly before we ask? Can you turn the radio down, please, in the background?
I turn the radio off.
Okay,
right.
great. We're
Good
good
to go.
But, okay. Here's your question, Mary. Again, multiple choice, same thing. Starbucks, which now has branches in 49 countries, started out in where? Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, or San Francisco, California?
Seattle, Washington.
Final answer?
Yes.
You're correct.
Okay.
Congratulations, Mary. We have a box of Misto Box coffee, which will be waiting for you at WMBS. If you just want to hold on the line, Mike Sackley will take your information. You can come pick it up next week.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
Mary.
for listening.
All right.
So that's all our giveaways for today. But
Got about 3 minutes
we'll
left.
try to
Just let you
find
know.
some. Okay, thank you very much. So back to the pumpkin latte story. So apparently, in the pumpkin spice latte, there's a dried milk powder.
Mhm.
And vegans obviously don't drink any dairy. They don't eat meat. They don't eat egg products. And I guess they've been drinking this pumpkin spice thinking it's vegan when it's not. The baristas, I guess it said, didn't know, and now they're more mad that they don't have an alternative pumpkin spice latte that is vegan.
Huh.
So
I would
that's
have
the
never
story
thought
that I
about
picked
that
up.
as far as the vegan sense goes.
Right, and I mean, that's a serious thing. When I was in the restaurant, we had people that would come in that were vegans, and you had to be very careful what you served them because we couldn't even, in some instances, give them pasta because of the eggs.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to watch, no cheese, no, if they're strict vegan, they don't, no dairy, no fish, just vegetables, so we'd have to make sure the pasta we gave them just had flour and water, or was water-based, and semolina or something to that effect. So I can see the issue here, and hopefully Starbucks will clear it. I'm sure they will. Knowing Starbucks, they have everything else under the sun. But I hope everyone enjoyed today's episode on coffee. We will be back next week with another episode of Just Cook It right here on WMBS. Bill Alexander will be back in full swing, and Mike Sackley, you won't be here.
No, Jim will be filling in for me next week.
So that'll be fun. We'll have a new voice and a new opinion. So be sure to tune in next Saturday at 9. You can check us out at justcookit.net for all our other information. And thank you for listening. Don't forget to Just Cook It, and we'll talk to you next week.
You have been listening to Just Cook It Radio with Mario Pareca and Bill Alexander. For more information on this program and how to download it as a podcast, go to justcookitradio.com. If you have any questions or comments about the show, please call us at 1-855-590-0590.
This has been a $1 Million Baby production.